Today's session, we're going to again start with the 9-round breathing. We're going to look a little bit at obstacles and identifying what they've labeled as the 5 obstacles, but you'll recognize all of it when you see it. And we'll look a little bit at negative states of mind as well, and then perhaps some antidotes and transforming negative experiences into positive experiences. So hopefully we'll get through all that. But what I would like to start with is just motivation for the session. So let's just settle into a nice, comfortable posture. I just want to make sure that the sound is okay and everyone can hear me all right. Hi, Marion. Nice to see you. Yeah, sound is good. All right. So for those of you who are, sorry, my cord's all muddled up here. If you're sitting in a cross-legged position, like with the legs crossed in the regular meditation posture, still be sitting on top of your sits bones. And really, I know this is a long session. Try not to be leaning up against the back of whatever it is that's supporting you. But of course, if you get tired, go ahead. Just imagine your spine is this string of pearls of light. So really try and get a sense of this string of pearls of light inside you, running through the base all the way up through the crown of the head. They talk about a central channel. You might hear it spoken differently if you do a yoga as well. It's just this, it's not a physical thing. Just imagine your lengthening shoulders are aligned with the hips. Ears align with the shoulders as best you can. And just imagine perhaps you can imagine someone's pressing the palm in the back of your head. So just lengthen the spine. And just relax the crown of the head, the forehead, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the mouth, the jaw, the temples, back of the tongue, the back of the head, the back of the neck. And allow your shoulders and shoulder blades to drop down and relax the throat and the chest and the belly and all of your limbs. And the toes and the feet. Now with your feet, just if you are having your feet flat on the floor, just imagine that they're, really feel grounded there. There's a big astrological shift I heard tomorrow. I think we're moving into Pluto something. I don't know. Anyway, it's supposed to be a big change, a big shift. So I don't know if this is something you all believe in, but you might be feeling the movement of transition and change. It's often something we feel at the end of the year or around about the time when the seasons change as well. So if you are feeling that, it's really good to have your feet grounded in the earth. It's good to go for a walk outside, because sometimes we can get kind of moved around, a little bit destabilized. So another way to deal with that is to breathe. And we're going to do a 9-round breathing exercise. Notice the sensation of the air as you inhale and exhale. And maybe you can notice the sensation of the air flowing over those little tiny hairs inside the nostrils. And then just notice if there are any sounds in your environment. Just allow those sounds to be there and try not to follow them with the mind. We have a few people in the house this evening, so there's a little bit going on here, but I'm in my room. It's quiet in here. But I can also feel the energy of all the different people here. It's quite sweet. Judith's family have come to visit, her son and daughter-in-law. So there may be things going on in your home as well. So, the idea is to be aware of your environment, aware of the people that are there, the animals, the whatever's going on. Just notice it. And then just bring the mind back inside. And then notice what's arising in the mind. And try not to judge or criticize what's going on there. Try not to be thinking, oh, I should be more of, I should be thinking less of, and why does this keep arising in my mind? No. However it is you're turning up tonight is completely fine, warts and all. And so just always remember that first step that you made, the effort that you made to come here, that's the main point. This morning, somebody turned up at 6 a.m. She's on the West Coast with a few of us and hasn't come to morning meditation because it was too early. So I suggested that she come. And so surprisingly, she turned up this morning. It was so out of place, I thought we were in the evening meditation. But she made this effort just to turn up. And that was just an extraordinary step for her, because I know how difficult it is for her. So that was, if she did nothing else after that, totally fine. It would have been a bonus. Anyway, so however it is you're turning up today, just that step of coming to the meditation. Anything else after that is going to be a bonus for you. So notice the thoughts. Try, just allow them to arise, to abide, and then just watch as they sort of disappear. So what happens is if you don't give them any energy, they'll just kind of dissolve. We talk in our evening meditation of, not allowing ourselves to continue following the thoughts down sort of a negative track or a story track, one that sometimes isn't even real. We make up things about the future that we don't even know are going to happen. And then the thing is about, when I was actually practicing psychology many, many years ago, there was the latest thing that was coming out in 2003 was this, was mapping onto neuroplasticity. But what they had discovered was that neural pathways, if they're not used, they atrophy. So these negative thoughts that we have, they are actually physical neural pathways in the brain. They're not just nothing. So if you discontinue those thought patterns, they will atrophy. Physically, they'll atrophy. I just find that fascinating. I don't know where the research is at right now with all of that. But sometimes I think that we don't understand that what's going on in our mind is also physically happening in the brain. And then, of course, it affects the whole body. So just something to think about and a reason to try and show ourselves a little bit more kindness, a little bit more acceptance. It was very interesting today. We have a Tai Chi Chuan class on Fridays at the YMCA, and the teacher, Linda, very skillful with people. And so what I noticed today, we had this woman, a black woman in the class, the only one. And her color, her culture, everything stood apart from everyone else. apart from them, maybe there's a couple of Asian people there, maybe a Hispanic person as well. But it was so amazing to me to notice how this person was so skillfully integrated into the class, to the point where you didn't even notice the color of their skin. Not sure where I was going with that. Anyway. So when it comes down to it, we all are just a mind in a body due to our karma. So bring to mind all the people of your life. So start with the loved ones and just bring them into the room and really just look at them, invite them. And these people, they're not so hard for us to love. We have strong karmic connections with these people. And then there's ones we don't like. Oh, such pain. And there's our strangers. And have you noticed how each person that is driving in a car next to you on a freeway is not a person in a car with problems and lives and children and this and that and careers and whatever, families? It's a car. Anyway, think about that next time you're driving around. Imagine, you remember, all these people can change place at any time. They all have this extraordinary wish to be happy and they wish to be free from suffering. So let's just think about all these people of our life. And this morning we talked about there's a handful of people in our meditation in the morning who had some, some issues. For those of you, a couple of you here, 3 of you here in the room, bring your people to mind. And just, we do this meditation practice today for the benefit of those people and then all the people of our life and all sentient beings and ourselves as we're moving along our spiritual path. So again, keep your positions seated as comfortable as you can. I'm going to start this 9-round breathing, but before we do, we can just meditate for a couple of minutes, noticing the sensation of the air as you're inhaling and exhaling. If you find your mind getting distracted, just bring it back to the breath. And just feel yourself going inward and just settling the mind. So now, and when we do this 9-round breathing exercise, I just wanted to check. I'm doing so many meditations at the moment. I'm not sure what I did where. Did we do 9-round breathing last week? I think we did, right? Yeah, okay. So it's the same. I'm just going to lead the first round and then the other 2 rounds you'll do on your own. If it's helpful, keep your breath even. So an in-breath of 4 counts, pause at the top of the breath, and an exhale of 4 counts. For those of you who have experience in breath in yoga, you can extend the out breath, the exhale, for a little bit longer. there is, I understand, some benefit in keeping the in-breath and the out-breath even, helps to stabilize the mind. So we start, you can, except for people who have difficulty breathing, if you've got something going on, if your sinuses or the bridge of the nose, you can just visualize this. But for those who are able to breathe quite easily, you can just put a little bit of pressure on the left nostril and breathe in blissful, radiant white light through the right. And just pause at the top of the breath. And then breathe out through the left, all this kind of unhealthy attachment, unhealthy desire, insecurity, grasping, neediness. You breathe that out as thick, black, yucky smoke and let it disappear into space. And do that 2 more times. And pause and breathe out all your attachment energy. So that's attachment. You breathe that out through the left nostril. Now you breathe in through the left, blissful, radiant white light. Pause at the top of the breath. And breathe out through the right nostril, all your anger energy, and bitterness, and grudges, and depression, and jealousy, and disappointment. You just breathe it all out. And it leaves the body as thick, black, yucky smoke. Disappears into space. Do that 2 more times. Breathe in through the left. Now ignorance, breathing in through both nostrils. Blissful, radiant, white light. Pausing at the top of the breath. And then breathe out all your ignorance energy. So in the context of this particular Buddhist tradition that I'm in, we're talking about not understanding the way things truly exist. Not understanding emptiness, not appreciating cause and effect, karma. But if you're not having any interest in that, or it's new for you or strange for you, you can just imagine ignorance of not knowing things. Keep it that simple. Lack of wisdom. And breathe out all the ignorance as thick, black, yucky smoke, and do that 2 more times. So now we're going to do 2 more rounds in our own time. So breathing in, start by breathing in through the right, breathe out through the left, that's attachment. Do that 3 times, breathe in through the left, exhale through the right, that's anger. Do that 3 times, and then ignorance through both nostrils. So I'm going to let you do this on your own. I'm going to put myself on mute because there's a little bit of background noise here. Then we'll check in after. And welcome, Phyllis. We're just coming to the end of our 9-round breathing. So if you like, you can just do 1 round if you remember what we did last week. Or just sit and breathe while everybody catches up. Just a couple more minutes, everyone. Okay, everybody, just relax. And I just wanted to check in when you come to. How's everyone doing? Okay, anyone want to share anything? No? Lorraine, you about to say something? Saw you open your mouth.
Yeah, I'm just still recovering from that surgery I had on the inside of my nose, so I'm having a hard time with.
The breathing. Okay. So did you
Yeah.
understand when I said to just visualize?
Yeah, I tried it, but I had to. I
It
actually
didn't
need
really work.
medicine, but I have to. It's in the bathroom and someone else is using it, so
Oh, okay. So just imagine um, with that, because you're probably going to be like this for a little while you recover. I love the fluffy you've got behind you, behind your
that's my
head. What
bunny.
is that? Is that your bunny? Oh, it's very cute. Okay. Oh, that is cute. So just visualize if you do this meditation on your own, you can just imagine the light coming in and the smoke going out. So that's just the way to do it, because obviously, I mean, you're not the only one here that's been having difficulty with that. So you can just use your mind to visualize. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to share before we continue? Oh, okay. All right. So I think we discussed the different types of meditation. So we have talked about analytical meditation, and the analytical meditation is, when you meditate on the Lam Rim, for example, And Tibetan Buddhism, particularly our tradition, our lineage, the Gelug tradition, is very much about the mind. The Buddha was all about the mind. And stabilizing meditation it's primarily concentration meditation. So here we're trying to keep the mind stable on a single point for an extended period of time without kind of losing connection to that focus. So obviously the skill of concentration is something that we need just in everyday tasks, such as driving, flying a plane, and meditating. Our mind is very happily jumping from one place to the next. There are now many ways to help us keep our minds focused. We have a lot of distractions. A lot of the distractions are coming from different sources, EMFs, maybe being too much time in front of our devices, not spending enough time out in nature, eating foods that have certain kind of substances in them that kind of make us agitated. Some people have certain types of issues with focus and concentration, attention deficit disorder, for example. And, there's many ways you can help get on top of that. Sometimes it's very difficult to control the mind. You can also, certain kinds of mushrooms like lion's mane help to focus. So there's many different, there's some supplements you can take as well. There's foods you can eat as well that help you. So, for example, sugar sends you off the scale in terms of having the mind be a little bit scattered. So analytical meditation is kind of broad category. It's different from stabilization meditation, and analytical meditation kind of makes use of thought processes. We think, we reflect, we contemplate the object of our meditation, and the mind is moving, it's active. It does not, though, mean that the mind's moving all over the place. It's focused on a particular subject. So you need a certain amount of concentration and focus, even when we're meditating analytically. So, we make use, for those of you who've done the mindfulness course, we make use of the skills of mindfulness and concentration in analytical and stabilization meditation. As I said before, concentration is the predominant skill. So, there's this meditation called calm abiding. And I think some of you saw how difficult it is to get that. I don't know, did I show you guys the calm abiding map? Have you seen it? Oh, I'll put it up again.
Is that the one with the elephants?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw it
In this class?
last time. Last class, wasn't it?
Oh, last class. Okay. Let me see. This one. We saw that before. Yeah, that's the calm abiding map. So when a person's up here, reached here, they have calm abiding. Everything's under control. Down here, not so much. Okay, just a reminder. All right, then. As I said, I'm doing a couple of different courses right now. So I was like, oh, what did I teach where? Okay. So the object of, with mindfulness, we want to train the mind to be able to settle on a single object for extended periods of time without distraction. So you may have noticed, okay, let's meditate for 2 minutes, all right? Just settle back into your meditation posture. Meditate for 2 minutes. I'm going to put myself on mute just in case someone bangs around. And notice at the point at which your mind decides to wander off, and see if you can get a sense of how long it took after you'd sort of settled. And then when you notice that the mind has wandered off, this is kind of this idea of introspection. You notice that the mind has wandered off, just very, very gently bring the mind back. And settle yourself down, bring the mind back to the breath if you like. So, you can use the reason they use the breath is because it's something that's with us all the time. If you don't have the breath, you're not going to be staying alive very long. So that's why it's kind of useful to use it in this way. So I'll time it 2 minutes and just see how far you get. Just relax, everyone. How far did you get? Not very far. But were you able to bring your mind back?
I was able to bring my mind back. It was about 20 seconds in, and then I heard
right.
the wind, and then I started thinking about the force of nature and what's it going to do?
Right.
It's going to rain, and what is going to happen? So it took about 5 seconds, I think, to get back.
That's not bad. Well done, Susan. That's really good. Thanks for
Thank you.
sharing that. And it looks like Rachel also had a fairly quick departure as well. Me too. I've got people walking above me. So, Phyllis, how are you doing there? I haven't checked in with you. She's having difficulty getting on. Okay.
Hello, I'm here.
You're there.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not gonna.
There you are. Nice to see your face.
Okay.
Welcome.
I'm not here yet. I'm getting here, but I'm not quite.
Okay, you're landing. All right,
Yeah.
no worries. Just keep your feet on the floor, Phyllis.
Okay, they are.
Good. Connect with the earth. All right.
I'll just say that I found it very helpful to have a goal of only 2 minutes. I'm going to have to start using that frequently.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit more doable.
Yeah, exactly. Even one.
Yeah.
And you can, you can put if you have a watch, an Apple Watch or a digital watch, you can actually just time yourself and it'll just very gently buzz your wrist.
Yeah.
It won't make any noise. It'll just go zzz, zzz. And that's really, really helpful, I think. Like Miyeshi said that, us Westerners, we're not really capable of meditating more than 5 minutes at a time. So one of the things that, often we'll do if you do any courses with Venerable Rabina is she'll have people meditate for 5 minutes, then relax, change position, start again. And that, like you said, it's doable. It doesn't feel like, oh, well, I've got to sit here for an hour. And then all of a sudden you get bored or restless or Do you know what I mean? It's an easy goal, and then you can increase it over time. You know, you might find 2 minutes too short, or that. And then the other thing to be, anyway, we'll get to distractions in a little minute, obstacles. Okay. Thank you for that, Jay. So there's, you know, for those of you who've done those Vipassana courses or who are doing any meditation or any work with any kind of energy work, chi work, anything like that, you'll notice that there are benefits to it, to keeping the nervous system calm. Not only on a practical level, you know, just in terms of being concentrating on daily tasks, so you get things done more efficiently or you don't hurt yourself. Because the mind is calm and still, there's kind of real benefits to the nervous system keeping the mind still, keeping the body still. And, you know, at the very high levels of that calm abiding map, a level of flexibility and pliancy in the mind develops. And apparently it's quite blissful. And then you can feel it all the way through the body. And you may, if you've done those, you know, those 10-day courses, you may have also experienced how this kind of starts to move through the body. Mindfulness is also, you know, referred to as recollection. So it's remembering. So even with our breath, we're anchoring our attention. And just notice that when you disappear off to your grocery list or your budget or whatever, that you kind of left the breath, left the focus of the breath, and then you come back. And so remembering, recollecting, noticing when you've departed. And that's one way in which we can make use of mindfulness within the practice of stabilization meditation, within the practice of concentration. So clearly in whatever meditation we're doing, our mind can just wander anywhere. Whether we're doing a visualization meditation, whether we're mantra counting, you'd be so amazed at how. I have this friend she's a Tibetan nun. I've known her for years, and she's living in Nepal now. She was very, very, very close student of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and she, you know, we would talk about our 6-session Guru Yoga, and I'd be like, I got all the way through here, and I had no idea how I got there. Or I'd be doing prostrations or something, and I'd be like almost towards the end, and I never knew what happened to all the stuff in the middle, because my mind had gone somewhere else, because I had memorized these prayers and then allowed my mind and my mouth to be doing the recitation, and even the recitation of mantra, and then this other part of my mind had disappeared somewhere. So the mind's very clever. You can give it something awfully complicated to do, and it will still, once it's got familiar with that, it'll still be able to continue doing that and then also think of something else as well. Just recollection. Recollection what's going on, recollection of what we're actually doing at the time.
The Venerable Katy. Why does the mind do that? It's almost like it has a life of its own.
No, I know it's clever. Yeah, I have no idea, but I do notice it within myself. It's like, oh. And I kind of fight. Well, I think it's also too this thing about not being present. You know, you just allow yourself to kind of wander around. And it's also that thing about, you know, we talked about in the mindfulness meditation course about, you know, not paying attention from moment to moment. Because the mind is just like an unwieldy, you know, an elephant. It is like an elephant. It was like a monkey. It just runs all over the place, or like a little puppy. So we really need to train it, you know, just to sort of to be present. And, you know, when people have experienced levels of trauma, and then perhaps something triggers that trauma later on, then you'll notice that person not being present. They've just kind of gone because they're checking out. So part of it could be a trauma response, protection. I mean, it's just there's many, many ways in which our system tries to maintain homeostasis. And it could be something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, could be sugar.
Thank you, Venerable. But what is the we that goes in and tries to manage it? What?
Kind of like introspection, it's almost like the mother, the mother that kind of. So say if you imagine you've got a little child walking along, you're with your kid and your grandchild maybe, and you're walking along the edge of a cliff, and the kid is like 2 or 3 years old. You're constantly watching out to make sure that child doesn't do anything. I see parents, a lot of kids around this area, and I see parents getting their children out of the car and constantly keeping an eye on them, because you never know what 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds are going to do. They're a bit like squirrels, kind of dash off in this direction. So even as a driver, I'm constantly watching to make sure that those little kids are under the control of their parent. And the parents are pretty good. They're quite aware, but it's almost like it's the job of the mother or the father or the parent keeping an eye on the little kid.
So it's just another part of the mind.
Yeah,
Controlling it's all part of the mind.
exactly.
Is that correct?
I'd say, yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of this doesn't really, you just have to kind of, in a way, I think, experience it. This is why I try to do quite a bit of meditation in these classes, because we need to experience it. It's no good me sitting up here talking, because you can actually just go and read the course online. You don't need to come. But I think the point is for us to all sort of meditate together, get an experience, and then discuss it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Susan. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. So talking about the mind and having control of the mind, we have these habitual ways of thinking. And as I was saying earlier, they develop kind of neural pathways, but we can also, we can change that to more positive ways of thinking. We can make our minds and hearts full of compassion and kindness. And we can, just as we can become, very familiar with ice cream just by thinking about it and experiencing it, contemplating its qualities. And we can also sort of develop this kind of same familiarity with our mind. Our mind is constantly changing. And we try and keep our mind stable around change. We keep our mind stable around being criticized. So when we're less reactive, we really need to get to know ourselves and to love ourselves. Okay. I'm going to look a little bit now at some obstacles. So the 5 main obstacles to meditation, according to this particular tradition, and one is laziness. And laziness, is also this thing about, oh, I can't do it. It's not just about I can't be bothered. It's also like, oh, I don't have the ability to do it. They say that can also be laziness. There's forgetfulness. And there's, kind of excitement and just dullness. And there's just not trying to apply the antidote, and then there's over applying the antidote. So we'll look at the antidotes. So the general antidote to laxity and excitement Okay. So have you at any time experienced excitement and dullness in a meditation? Like excitement is not really being excited. Excitement is distraction. The mind's very, very busy. And then you have times in your meditation where your mind's very, very dull. So one of the things you can do when your mind is becoming very dull is you can just crack open your eyes just a little bit to allow a little bit of light in. You can also imagine maybe just sort of some light in the third eye area. You can also imagine the sides of the mouth just as if you're about to break into a smile. And this, you'll notice it just kind of lifts the mind. And the other thing that dear Geshe Dakpa used to sort of suggest here in San Francisco would be just get up and go and wash your face. Because if you keep pushing, and honestly, I mean, if you keep pushing and it's not working, then you need to sort of just probably just move and have a break. That could also be a sign like that. And if you're overexcited, one of the things I understood that, you might do is perhaps think of something that might be a little bit more grounding. I personally think it's a really good idea just to feel the weight of your body in your chair physically, the soles of the feet in the ground. Just helps you become kind of present and to breathe. And I would recommend regular breaths, breathing in and breathing out. And you can count some mantra as well. That always kind of, I think, just works. Because I think when you're getting into this state of excitement, your mind's just a little bit all over the place. There's too much kind of energy behind the mind. Thinking about something that's going to happen in the future, something that happened later in the day, earlier in the day, something happened yesterday. It's kind of speedy, scattered kind of mind. And the mind's kind of too high. So there was that analogy that the Buddha used about not stringing your instrument too tight. So there's an optimal level of tightness to a stringed instrument where it's in tune. And if you kind of turn the knobs too tightly and then you play it, the strings can break. If you tune the strings too loose, it sounds really out of tune. It sounds really bad. So, it's kind of similar to like this, not too loose and not too tight, somewhere in the middle. This is the whole thing also about Buddhism. It's just the middle way, just being kind of reasonable, nice and simple in the middle. So when the mind is too low, the energy of the mind is too low, we can get sleepy and drowsy. This is kind of a dimness. So it's, earlier we talked about luminosity and clarity of the mind, this kind of brilliance of the mind. So that is kind of not available to us when we're feeling dull. So the mental agitation is when the mind is perhaps a little bit too bright, and mental dullness is perhaps when the luminosity is just too dim, the light is turned down too low. So you can think about your own meditation sessions and when the mind is a little bit too dim, when it's a little bit too excited. And so one thing is to become familiar with what's happening and when. I mentioned a couple of a couple of antidotes, but one of the things, the first thing obviously to notice is when it's actually happening. When you're this kind of sinking and falling asleep, or when you're being kind of carried away. You can, one of the things for when you're distracted, you can actually really concentrate on the breath, as I said. You can use, there's one technique, I think we did it where you count the breaths, where you're kind of focusing concentration. You can imagine, if you're visualizing the Buddha, you can imagine the image we visualized as being very heavy. This helps to stabilize the mind. This is if you're distracted. You also can imagine the visualized image as very, very small. So that was one technique. And then you check your posture. Make sure that your head, you might find that your chin has kind of like lifted up a little bit and there's constriction in the back of the neck. That causes agitation. Just check your environment. Is the light in your room too bright? And one of the things they said is to sort of focus on a serious subject. See if that works for you. See if that serves you. That's just one of the techniques they suggest. You can maybe meditate on impermanence, how things change. So if you're having a happy experience now, it could change at any time. And the other thing too is, of course, be patient. Be patient with yourself, particularly when you're having some kind of difficulties. So I want to know if that was helpful. Was that helpful? No one's saying anything. Lou, go ahead.
What I find helpful a lot is what you had mentioned about when I get too dull, just small movements of the back of my neck, just raising my head just a little bit until I can feel the change if I'm aware enough. Raising and lowering my head to combat either dullness or agitation. Doesn't work for extreme, but if it's it works for small amplitudes of distraction or dullness.
What are you doing when you're doing that? Like when you're shifting the head?
Well, you talk about when the head is too far back, your mind gets agitated. Your head's too far forward, you're falling asleep, you're getting dull. So you can use that in opposition to whatever.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Very clever. Okay. So you guys try it. See how that works for you. Okay.
Venerable Katy.
Yeah, Susan.
Did you say that while we're meditating, if we're feeling happy, if something makes us feel happy, that would be a distraction, and that we should recall that, or not be surprised that happiness can shift instantly into something else?
What I was suggesting is if your mind was overexcited, what they talk about is think about a sobering subject, such as maybe your own mortality, just to kind of bring the energy down a little bit if it's extremely high. But rather than saying that, I was suggesting think about impermanence, which kind of leads to this idea of death anyway. But with impermanence, if you have, it's sobering to know that things could change at any time. I find that very sobering. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but that is one thing for me, is just to remember impermanence. Doesn't mean to say that you understand it perfectly or that you even accept it, change, but it's just another way of applying an antidote. Yeah. Does anyone else have any more questions?
Thank you, Venerable. That was very helpful.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Lorraine, did you put your thumb up? Was that
Yeah, kind of. So, so I have an annoying case of I have not only ADHD but anxiety disorders and post-traumatic stress disorder. And one of the things that I've noticed with my meditation, excuse my nose, this is not
I can hear that you're having some difficulty talking there.
is that my brain will switch so much from one subject to another that I don't realize I'm doing it. And sometimes this, happen in conversation with people too. And I'll contradict myself because I'm just seeing something from a completely different perspective 10 seconds later. It's really annoying to me.
No,
And
it's your superpower. You can think of it, this highly active, highly intelligent mind. It's we've labeled it as a disorder, but it's kind of like, in a way, it's a superpower that you can use it. You can have it serve you rather than the other way around, you serving it.
That's where I need an education, is how to get that down, because right now it's doing the other thing.
Exactly. So first of all, start to identify it not as a psychological problem, but as this superpower that you have, and how best, where did you go? I lost you. Oh, there, you moved places. How best can you use it in a way that will serve you and others around you? So think about that for a while. So just flip the script on it, because it's so easy for us to get ourselves down. It's like, oh, I've got this problem. Depends how you look at it. And it's an amazing skill to be able to do what you're doing. You should be a lawyer, Anyway.
I've heard that, but I know too many lawyers.
There you go. No, it's not. It's a bit of a thankless task, law. Anyway, I contemplate that for a little bit, because these meditation techniques are helpful, but there's also all kinds of, different kinds of support, treatments, medicine, therapy, vitamin D, whatever, fish oil, whatever. You've probably figured all of that out. Different kinds of, different types of mushroom that's available as coffee and things like that. So
I've been told I take so many supplements I rattle when I walk.
there you go. So that's also probably a superpower. I don't know. Okay. And then also too, if you are experiencing dullness, going back to what Susan was saying, you can reflect on something uplifting and joyful, something that gives you energy. And just also check your general state of mind for maybe some sadness or depression. And then, as Geshe-la said, just get up, go for a walk, wash your face with cold water and come back. Energize your body, have some fresh air. So that just try and keep your, your antidotes practical. And then, don't overdo it. Just keep it like middle way. Keep it nice and calm. Don't try, force it. And so we have here the 5 negative states of mind, and you might recognize some of them. Attachment. So I just wanted to, does everybody understand what attachment means in the context of Buddhism? You understand all that? So attachment is not necessarily, this, they talk about, back in when I was doing psychology, it was like you need to have healthy attachment to your mother when you were a child. It's not like that. We're talking about unhealthy attachment. An attachment, it's kind of not it's, liking things is not a bad thing. You know, wanting to have chocolate is not a bad thing. Wanting to have nice things is not a bad thing. Wanting to live in a nice house is not a bad thing. Wanting to love your children is not a bad thing. It's just when it becomes, there's an energy behind attachment that's sort of a bit like addiction. And it drives you to behave in certain ways that are maybe harmful to others. So that's a negative state of mind. It can also be very distracting. Then there's anger. Anger is hugely destructive. It doesn't often, you know, not everybody kind of goes around blurting it out onto everybody else, but then they internalize it, so it's harmful. Pride, that just really makes you unable to learn anything. It makes the heart. It makes the heart hard. It makes the mind not very pliable when you have a lot of pride. You think you don't need to learn anything new. And then there's jealousy. You know, Venerable Rabbeinu always talks about jealousy being anger, but it's a very, very bitter emotion. It's hugely destructive. And then there's this ignorance of the way things really are. It's also like this ignorance of where you're at as a human being as well. You can't see yourself. And these delusions, you know, we all have them though. They're habitual patterns, and not necessarily even from this life. There could be habitual patterns from previous lives as well. And they're going to arise because we're sitting still and things are just coming up. So when we're thinking about positive and negative, we're thinking about the impact that it has. So, you know, positive states of mind bring a happier state of mind, a calmer state of mind, a more present state of mind, and negative states of mind are just kind of bringing some kind of suffering, and it's somewhat unrealistic. So we're trying in meditation, particularly in meditation at nighttime, we're doing the Vajrasattva, we're trying to familiarize ourselves with the positive and just lessen our familiarity with the negative. It's really quite simple. When we talk about attachment, desire, aversion, anger, hatred, ignorance, confusion, pride, jealousy, envy, you probably know all of these. I won't go into too much detail because I want to do some more meditation. I want to talk about how, I don't spend too much time on anger. I want to talk about how we can diminish these.
Venerable Katy, can you just say something about envy, just very briefly, about how it's different from other attachments, maybe?
I've always understood envy to be, it's kind of like jealousy. So is that how you understand envy? It's interesting though, I kind of get this impression that envy is more like when you're envious of someone living in a beautiful house or having a nice car or having a nice relationship. And jealousy is more about being jealous of someone or, you know, being jealous of a friend or something like that. I don't know how you see those two distinctions. I'm just talking off the top of my head here.
But I thought envy was more serious, more negative, because something about when you're envious, you want harm to come. It's almost like you want harm to come to the person whom you are envious of.
So it's anger, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's anger. So one of the things you'd hear people talking, that person's gone on a 9-month cruise. I hope they all drown. That's not, I mean, it might be a joke, but it's not really very nice. There's anger there. Or you can say, oh, those people have gone on this 9-month cruise. How amazing, how fortunate they are to be able to just float around for 9 months. I personally couldn't think of anything worse to do. But I hate being on ships. It's almost like I get kind of locked. You kind of be like a prison for me, but anyway. So I think one of the antidotes to envy and jealousy they suggest is first of all to rejoice for the person or people. And the second thing is, say if it's like a trip or something, say someone's gone to Hawaii, you go to Hawaii and you go and enjoy yourself. You go treat yourself somehow. You make it possible somehow. You make it a goal for yourself. And maybe some people can get to Hawaii more easily than others. You might have to save up for 3 years to go there, or you might just have the money in your account anyway. But the first thing to do would be just to rejoice for the person. Envy is so unfortunate. It's just it's just kind of like poison. It's definitely a poison. It's just really harmful to yourself. And then it leads people to do all kinds of weird stuff, including harming other people physically. Yeah. Did that answer your question, Susan?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. So I think these kinds of things are going to arise in the mind. It's just the way we are. And the thing to do is not to shy away from it, but just to look at it when it comes, just examine it, be curious. Like I sort of say in the beginning of the meditation in the evening, just examine it, look at it, be curious about what it is you're seeing. Try not to judge it, because we all have these same emotions. Everybody here in this room has the same. And, we do get to choose what we want to do with our own mind. It's not controlling us. We do have the power to control it. And it's just due to habit and past imprints that we maybe think in certain ways, and all, experiences that we've had. Well, there is a nice little meditation here I'd like to start because it's now almost 1:15. So let's do this meditation. It's called Transforming Negative Experiences. So just bring your mind back to the breath and sit comfortably. And bring your attention to your breath. And if you like, we can go back to the counting the breaths meditation that we did, I don't know if it was last week, maybe. So in breath and out breath 1. In breath and out breath 2. In breath and out breath 3. And just keep going, see where you get to. And just feel the feet on the floor. Shoulders align with the hips and lengthen the spine. And just sort of think yourself, why am I sitting here? Why am I meditating? What do I want to, how do I want this meditation to serve me? What do I want to get from it? What aspirations and goals do I have? And just allow the answers to rise to the surface and just observe what happens in your mind. What kind of responses are happening for you? And take a moment to examine the responses that arose, the nature of them, and are they by any chance wishes for you to be a happier, more peaceful person? Are you concerned with your own happiness and well-being? All of us want to be happy, and whatever that means for you. All of us want to avoid suffering, and whatever that means for you. And this is universal from the smallest thing to the largest human being or animal. You see an ant, and when you've accidentally trodden on it, it just kind of starts to wriggle around. It releases this kind of awful smell. I don't know if that's to alert all the other ants to come and rescue it, but they don't like it. They want to avoid it. Another thing that I've heard that ants do, I think I might have even seen it, is if they're in a large body of water, they'll all join together and float, because they don't want to drown. So if your aspirations and goals do come to pass, consider the effect that this is going to have on you and your life. And will you be a happier person? Will you be a better person? Will you be an easier person to live with? And what will the people around you experience in their life? Will they have a better life because you're experiencing a better life? So just as you want to be happy and want peace of mind and greater well-being, the exact same thing is true for others. So might it be possible to expand your motivation, your aspirations to include not only your own well-being, but also the well-being of others around you? So see if you can sort of think about your aspirations, expand them to include the welfare of others as well as your own. So now with this positive motivation as a basis, try to think about the experiences that you've had during the day, in particular the interactions you've had with others. And maybe a difficult situation has arisen today. And maybe if it hasn't, maybe you could think of maybe one that happened yesterday. So maybe there's a situation where you became impatient or short-tempered, or where you might have seen others as problems or as enemies. You might have lashed out at someone verbally, or you might have just done a passive-aggressive thing, or you might have lashed out at someone on an email. So as you call on these memories, keep in mind the situation is over and you're simply experiencing memories of something that's already gone and now is in the past. So keeping this in mind, bring one difficult situation to your mind and remember what happened in detail from beginning to end as you replay the situation, and watch and observe your mind and your behavior, and try and apply these techniques that we have learned about mindfulness in order to disidentify with the feelings that arise and just simply watch and observe them objectively. So we'll just do this for a couple of minutes. Now contemplate the disadvantages of a negative response. So think about maybe the harmful nature of the negative responses that took place during this event, and think how you felt while you were impatient and angry, and just reflect. Did you feel happy, comfortable, relaxed, peaceful? And if your angry feeling led you to say things, words, actions, write things, what effect did that have on you? And what effect did it have on others? And how did it, affect those around you? Did it make the situation any easier? And did that angry behavior help to bring the situation to a more positive solution? Were you able to understand each other better? Were you communicating better? So we can most likely agree that impatient and angry words and actions only bring harm to ourselves, and we feel awful afterwards. We don't feel happy or comfortable or at peace. We make others angry as well. We cause them to be angry and distressed and upset. And angry words and actions can cause schisms in friendships, make reconciliation difficult, make it more difficult to understand each other. So come to a clear, conscious conclusion with regard to harmful and negative effects of impatient and angry words and behavior. And now think about the advantages of a positive response, and think about how you might have handled the situation differently with a calm, balanced and open attitude, without anger or impatience or resentment. And think about how your experience and others' experience of the situation might have been completely different. What if you'd been able to respond in that situation with good humor, with kindness, lightness, so that rather than the situation becoming heavy and difficult, it became just light? And consider how extraordinary it would have been to be able to manage a difficult situation just like this one with the calm and peaceful mind. So now think in your mind, replay the entire situation in your mind from beginning to end, imagining it completely differently. So just flip the script. Relive the situation in your imagination and imagine yourself reacting with warmth and openness towards the other people present, calm, balanced, with wisdom, and without any reactivity. And imagine in detail how the situation may have played out. Is the outcome different? Do you feel different about yourself at the end of the interchange? Are you pleased or disappointed? What kind of experience do the others have in your replay, positive or negative? And I remember I had, when I first moved up here, we were still at the end of the pandemic. Everyone was still in masks. And one day I think it was my first or second summer up here. And I was listening to some music in my ears, and I'm checking out at the same time of the grocery store. And there was a miscommunication between me and this, the man who was checking me out. He's super smart. He remembers every single code for every single item in that store. But anyway, he got super frustrated with me. I got frustrated with him anyway, but we couldn't understand. We had this moment of not being able to understand each other. And he just walked off. He walked away from the till. I felt so bad. And then someone came in and helped check out. I felt so bad that this guide got so disturbed. So I went and bought him a coffee the next day. I went and found him. Oh, I couldn't find him, but I found out what his name was, and I asked the other people in the store to find him and just give him that coffee. And then next time we met, he knew who I was. Now he's my best buddy. But I could have left it where it was. I didn't feel comfortable to do that. But just a simple act of buying him a coffee and sort of saying, I'm really sorry. I think we probably had a bit of a misunderstanding. And it was so easy to do. In a way, it was so much easier than carrying on with the miscommunication and the anger. That's just like takes so much effort. Like kind of trying to fix it with just a simple cup of coffee and a kind word made it so much easier to deal with. So make a strong determination that each time you find yourself responding with impatience or agitation or anger, practice this meditation afterwards and see how it could have been done differently maybe, and perhaps how you could do it differently in the future. We get so caught up in the moment. So gradually, we're somehow disrupting that neurological pathway of habitual response patterns, training the mind to become more balanced, patient, kind. So transforming our interactions with others into a more positive place is an extraordinarily beneficial thing to do. It's amazing. So we're almost at the end of the session. I've got a couple of minutes left before I have to run off and eat dinner before our next meditation. Does anyone have anything just very quickly that they'd like to share? Do you think you could practice that between now and next week?
Yes.
Flipping the script. Yes.
I think that was a wonderful meditation. I was really able to follow along with it and benefit from it very much. And I have to say too that Lou's suggestion about just adjusting at the base of the neck really creates a better shift in focus.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that, Lou. Good. I'm glad that works for you. Okay. All right, everybody. If no one has anything else they'd like to share, let's just dedicate all the positive energy we've created in this session tonight with these different meditations and a little bit of discussion. And do try that meditation at home. Things will come up this week. It's just the way we are. And if you do kind of lose the plot a little bit and you go down a little bit of a negative thinking, even if it's just thinking, you don't act on it, think about how could I have thought about that situation differently. When your mind's a little bit calmer, reflect on it. So just try that as a bit of a mental exercise this week, a bit of a meditation. So let's just dedicate for all the people of our life, all sentient beings, strong wish for His Holiness to live long, and the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche's reincarnation, and then, of course, for the long life of all your precious teachers. And Lou, thank you so much for hosting yet again. Lots of love to you all. And Susan, Rachel, thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Kimberly's on the East Coast. Rachel, are you on the East Coast as well? Thank you, Phyllis.
Oh, I'm in Albuquerque.
Oh, you're in Albuquerque. Okay. You're a mountain time. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you so much.
Marion, and Jay's in Australia, of course. Okay, everybody. Lots of love. See you next week. We're going to have to, I think, combine both sessions in session 4 and 5. So I'll work at what we're going to do. We might just do all meditation. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.